Friends, I create every video for several hours a day. Let's get 500 likes on this video.
A Boy and a Man with a Grindstone, c. 1908, Santa Clara, California. Opening ceremony for the first Jefferson City, Missouri bridge. This young couple is living the 1950s suburban dream. The clothing, style of home, and of course the pink flamingos date the image. My grandparents enjoying a coffee break at Wiesbaden Air Base, Germany, 1955. Children outside casino while their parents are inside, Upper Wisconsin, 1954. Teenage hikers on top of Preikestolen, aka Pulpit Rock, Norway, 1953. The only black soldier of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, 1915. Crowd listening to the Cajun Band at National Rice Festival, Crowley, Louisiana, October 1938. Studio photographs of people in folk costume in Krakow, Poland, c. 1860s to 1880s. A guard smiling at guests at Belvedere Palace in Warsaw, Poland. Photographed by Henryk Podebski on November 29, 1936. English ladies enjoying their drinks outside, 1934. Welcome to the Good Burger, home of the Good Burger, 1950s. June 1942, Brooklyn, New York. Red Hook Housing Project. Mrs. Caputo washes son Jimmy's ears. He is recovering from infantile paralysis. Schoolgirls pedaling home to change their clothes because tight-fitting slacks, pedal pushers, and shorts have been banned from their West Berlin school, 1953. My grandfather, streetcar driver in Coral Gables, 1926. Silent movie production. Western star Harry Carey confronts a villain while filming the 1916 film Love's Lariat as Universal Tour guests observe the action. Mongolian warrior in full combat gear. Mongolia, 1900. The Red Cross collects donations using a vacuum cleaner. New York, 1916. New York shoeshine workers in 1947. The Man of the Future according to Vogue magazine, USA, 1939. Fisherman with nets after a successful fishing trip, USSR, 1960. My great-grandpa wearing his grandfather's armor, circa 1920. African-American girl of the 1920s. Woman member of the Secret Service, Olive H. Doyle, 1920. Wedding, 1920s. A Canadian Cree Indian in 1920s. Ottoman Empire. My great-great-grandfather died during the last pandemic around 1920. Notice the yatagan, daggers, in his belt. Farm in Kurawara, Sweden, 1920s, drying meat on the roof. My grandparents' wedding, 100 years ago today. In 1873, the most famous dancer, Giuseppina Morlacci, Mary Jack Omohundro. At 67 years old, Emma Rowena Gatewood told her adult children she was going out for a walk. What they didn't realize was that her walk would span 2,168 miles and make history. The 900-year-old Traquair House, the oldest continually inhabited house in Scotland, engraved in 1815 compared to its view today. Victorian poverty, a disabled match seller suffering with polio surviving the streets of London. C. 1900. The interior of Grauman's Egyptian Theatre, Hollywood, which opened in 1922. A boy pushes a pram on Gloucester Street, The Rocks, Sydney, Australia, in c. 1900. A caravan at an encampment near Latimer Road, Notting Hill, London, 1877. In 1929, Vivian Bales embarked on a remarkable journey that would cement her place in history. Over the course of 78 days, she rode her 1929 Harley-Davidson across the country, covering a staggering 5,000 miles. Mongolian girl enjoying life with her camel. Chief Irontail driving an early automobile, 1915. Shoemaker and his cat, mid-19th century. Soup kitchen feeding young children in Germany during the Great Depression. For Apache Scouts, 1888. A woman with her possessions in the ruins of Cologne, Germany, 1945. October 7th, 1943, Atla Kafka, beloved sister of author Franz Kafka, was gassed on arrival at Auschwitz after volunteering to escort a group of orphans from the Terezin ghetto so they wouldn't be afraid. The first interracial marriage in Mississippi, 1970. 3 years earlier, the 1967 Loving v. Virginia SCOTUS ruling legalized interracial marriage in the U.S. Beautiful Ukrainian girl in national costume, 1935. Photo before and after restoration. Gertrude Aderly, first woman to cross the English Channel, August 26, 1926, done in 14 hours and 31 minutes, beating the male record of 16 hours and 33 minutes. Photos of the day, she did the record. Couples in a bar, 1959 Pittsburgh. Blackfoot Chief 2 guns White Calf, early 1900s. Jane Russell shows her co-actress Marilyn Monroe. At the time, Jane was the bigger star, one of her talents, drawing. Here she draws and sketches Monroe. Result at the end. This was during the filming of Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, 1953. This photograph, taken over 100 years ago in Jerusalem, 1920, shows a sign in the background reading the Palestine German Bank. Remarkable window into history and the vibrant multicultural presence in the region during that era. Happiest man in China. The dressing room at the Moulin Rouge, 1924. Building of the Atomium in Brussels for the World's Fair, 1958. Check out the gnarly insect screen covering the grill. 1957. This is Savfk Karapetyan, a retired Armenian swimmer. In 1976, he had just completed a 26 kilometers, 16-mile run when he heard a loud crash. A trolley bus had lost control and had fallen into a reservoir. Love came to me, and I was not afraid to marry the man I loved because of his color. Helen Pitts Douglas. Awayu, Pretty Flower, from the Seneca Nation. Iron Thunder, Crow Eagle, Fool Thunder, Slow White Buffalo, all holding peace pipes, Dakota, circa 1880s. Roger Williams University in Nashville, Tennessee, 1899. Sergeant Karen Hermiston, or Hermie as people called her, was courageous and determined, earning a place in Canadian history as the only official female photographer for the armed forces to work amidst combat during World War II. Private James Hendricks of the 101st Airborne, playing guitar at Fort Campbell, Kentucky in 1962. Jimi Hendrix went on to become one of the most influential guitarists of all time. 14. A photograph of Edinburgh, Scotland from a sky taken by Alfred G. Buckham in the 1920s. Photograph of the oldest house in Hamburg, Germany, taken in 1898. It was built in 1524 and, despite protests from locals, was demolished on the December 8, 1910. A group of Japanese samurai photographed in front of the Sphinx in Giza, Egypt during a visit to the country, 1864. George and Willie Muse, two African-American brothers who were kidnapped as children in 1899 and forced to perform as sideshow attractions because they were albinos. Enoch Mann teaches a boy how to shoot a bow and arrow, circa 1920. Soviet war veteran next to an eternal flame on the anniversary of Victory Day, 1966. Victory Day, May 9th, is a holiday that commemorates the Soviet victory over Germany in 1945. Then and now, 1970 and 2024, a family recreates this photo 54 years later in Salford, England. 18-year-old Philip meeting then 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth at the Royal Navy College in Dartmouth in 1939. He was studying there and was tasked to accompany the royals who were on a visit. It was their first 1:1 meeting. Trapeze artist Miss Mara hitting an arm workout in 1958. Bedouin mother from Saudi Arabia in 1948. Unbelievably stunning couple. Love how their hands are clasped together. 1960s. American woman welders during World War II. A woman churning milk to butter while reading a book. 1897. A photo of Freddie Mercury, 1958. Gunnar Kazin and his team of 13 dogs, led by the Siberian Husky, Balto, completed the last leg of a 1925 trip to deliver 300,000 units of diphtheria antitoxin to Nome, Alaska, to prevent an outbreak. They traveled by night in temperatures of minus 23 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 31 degrees Celsius. And Frank photographed with her sister Margot at the beach in Zandvoort, Netherlands in 1940. A Peruvian woman and her baby in the Andes, 1930s. In 1902, 18-year-old Alice Roosevelt was known for her rebellious and independent spirit. Alice was known for her unusual habits, such as wearing pants, driving cars, smoking cigarettes, betting with bookies, and dancing on rooftops. American soldier reunites with his wife at train station fittingly named New Hope. Us, 1945. British soldier retrieving bandages from the kid of a dog during WWI, 1915. The 1949 Nash Air flight was designed with seats that reclined into convertible beds. In 1936, Nash Motors introduced the bed-in-a-car feature. Actress Carol Burnett said she was probably conceived in a Nash sleeper seat. Native Americans photographed by Roland W. Reed between 1907 and 1913. Young girl Kiowa tribe, Oklahoma, 1894. U.S. cavalry soldiers pose in front of a sequoia in Yosemite known as Grizzly Giant in 1900. This tree still stands today. Two widows gathered for Martin Luther King's funeral, April 1968. View of the St. Lawrence River from Quebec City in the 1800s. A stylish family outing, 1946. New York street style, 1940s. Camera girls, late 1930s. Women on motorcycles in Great Britain, 1930s. Frederick Patterson was the first African American to manufacture cars. Rural one-room schoolhouse in Florida, 1870s. Teachers on spring break, 1910. Two musicians sitting on a porch in Louisiana, 1938. Nellie Brown, an African-American cowgirl, Sea Point, 1880s. Bruce Lee teaching his son, Brandon, martial arts at an early age, 1960s. 1948, Scottish ballerina Moira Shearer plays dancer Victoria Page in the classic film The Red Shoes. Lisa Fonzig arrives at the Eiffel Tower, 1939. Digging graves as a hobby, 1916. A man selling brooms and baskets, Japan, 1890 to 1896. In the Victorian era, the woman's hair was considered an important part of her appearance, and it marked her status and her femininity. Emperor Menelik II of Ethiopia, 1896. In 1967, the Patrouille Suisse, the acrobatic team of the Swiss Air Force, during a loop in front of the Alps. 1878, a forest of totem poles crafted by the Haida people at Skydgate, British Columbia in 1878. Albert and Elsa Einstein in Japan with local hosts, 1922. Helen F. Day, a blind woman who published Searchlight, a publication for blind children. She is probably holding a device for printing in Braille. Phoebe and Moses Butler, also known as Annie Oakley, aiming a rifle in 1922. Remembering television legend Betty White. Audrey photographed by Mark Shaw in Beverly Hills, California during the filming of Sabrina in 1953. Graduation Day, 1939. Beautiful Bride, CE 1930s. Five-year-old and Frank, photographer her father Otto. (1862) US Union soldier Kathy Williams. She had to pose as a male to be enlisted. She was part of the 38 Regiment Infantry Division and was called a Buffalo Soldier. Walking her dogs in the Hyde Park Dogs Cemetery, the final resting place to 1,000-plus Victorian-era pets hides inside the city park. Daughter of a Cornwall copper miner, 5X bride, free Australian immigrant, resident of far north Queensland, mother of three, laundress worker, and short-term resident of New Zealand's North Island. All this in 55 years of life. Navajo woman weaving blanket, Santa Fe, New Mexico photographer, Christian G., CAD 1900. A watch stopped at 8:15 a.m. found in Hiroshima, August 1945. A scene at a London railway station showing troops arriving while kiddies who are being evacuated from London leave. George McLaurin, first African-American student admitted to the University of Oklahoma, forced to sit apart from white students. 1948. Princess Fatime Khanum was the Princess of Persia. She was the daughter of King Nasir al-Din Shah Qajar, who ruled Persia from 1848 to 1896. She was considered the ultimate symbol of beauty in Persia during the early 1900s. 17-year-old Julianne Coep was sucked out of an airplane in 1971 after it was struck by a bolt of lightning. She fell 2 miles to the ground, strapped to her seat, and survived after she endured 10 days in the Amazon jungle. David Attenborough entertains Prince Charles and Princess in With a Cockatoo. 1958. One of the earliest photos showing a Native American with a wolf. Unlike the myths created about wolves by settlers, Indians maintained a close and respectful relationship with wolves. Texas couple, CA in 1900, one of the hardest restorations and colorizations I did so far. Working time, about 15 hours. Old man, photo by C.M. Bell, CA, 1890. Mrs. Abraham Lincoln, Mary Todd, 1855. Antietam, MD President Lincoln and General George B. McClellan in the General's Tent 3. October, 1863. Joseph Dorr, CA, 1862. Andrew Johnson, December 29, 1808 to July 31, 1875, the 17th President of the United States. The three men, Alexei Antonenko, second left, and soldiers Valery Bezbolov, center, and Boris Baranov, far right, risked their lives to drain the fluid near the reactor during the Chernobyl nuclear disaster in Pripyat, Ukraine in 1986. The photo, taken by Fred Blackwell on May 28, 1963, shows three protesters, John Salter, Joan Trumpauer, and Moody, sitting at the counter of a white-only Woolworth's five and dime store in Jackson while an angry mob pours ketchup, sugar, and mustard on them. Back in 1950, Associated Press photographer Max Desfor took this dramatic photograph of refugees trying to cross a destroyed Pyongyang bridge, over the Taedong River in North Korea to escape the country. The photo won the Pulitzer Prize in 1951.
friends, subscribe, and write your opinion in the comments.